And again, hey guys, welcome as you come into the chat. Don't forget to say hello. Let me know what you're wearing today on your wrist, so you can do your wristwatch check for the day. Again, this today we're talking. We're going to talk Baselworld, and we're going to talk about whatever else you guys would like to chat about. What's up, Ricardo? How's it going, man? And like I said, I'm definitely curious to hear some of your stuff because you've been posting here on Watch with us all week long. And yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what's up. What are you wearing today, too, man? Out of curiosity. Metal G-Shock. Very cool. John, what's up, man? Armida A12. Very nice. I can't show you guys mine because I just got a new watch that you're going to see on Wednesday this week. I think was when I'm going to post that unboxing video. So it will remain a secret until then. My football jersey can maybe clue you in, give you a small hint as to what it could possibly be. So you guys will have to wait. But yeah, Baselworld, of course, was last weekend. Was following like crazy, much more than I thought I was going to actually. Normally, with stuff like that, I'll just, watch the articles as they flow in, but I was glued to YouTube all weekend, and I was I was glued to like Hodinky and Worn It Well, and I was keeping an eye on Instagram because Ricardo was posting pictures like crazy on Watch with Us, and I do, yes, I have the bug big time, Ricardo. And again, I talked about last time we did this chat that Baselworld reminded me a lot of E3 from the video game side of things, and I was following it with the intensity that I was of E3 for sure. So it was, like I said, it was a long weekend, but a fun weekend. Got to put together some cool content. And yeah, we had a good time. So if you guys didn't see, I did a winners and losers video from my perspective from Basel. I did a top 5 watches video from Basel as well. So definitely check those out on the channel when you get the chance. Because like I said, I busted my butt on this week. This week was long as hell too, man. I was said regular work had me doing a bunch of videos this week as well, doing a lot of podcasts this week as well for the TNP Studios thing. So busy week. Happy it's over though, and happy to cruise in with you guys. So I wanted to talk about a couple other watches from the weekend that was from Baselworld. Let me talk about Grand Seiko a little bit because I didn't really mention Grand Seiko much at all in my videos. And I picked them as kind of like one of my predictions that I made was that Grand Seiko is going to kind of be the show stealer from Baselworld. And I definitely don't think that happened. The Spring Drive 20th anniversary limited editions were cool that they showed off, and a lot of folks were really excited about them. I'm not one of them, even though like the dial's just not really my flavor. And Grand Seiko divers look really strange. And see, Ricardo, you got to see him in person, so I have a feeling it's one of those things that, like, when you actually see it in the metal, it might be a little bit different. But for whatever reason, it's just not coming across in pictures for me. And I don't really know why. The Snowflake watch was really cool that they showed off. That was a lot of folks' talk of the weekend as well. That thing that's going to cost, what is it, like $75,000? Well, and Ricardo says everyone keeps complaining about the price points. I mean, that's what you're going to get with a limited edition, right? You're going to get some crazy high price points. And that was the other thing too. Seiko also had some really cool stuff. Like, I really enjoyed most of the watches that Seiko showed off, but they were really freaking expensive. They showed the presages with the porcelain dials, which is really cool, but they're right up around $2,000. That seems, I mean, it's not pricey for what you're getting, but it's, when you think of Seiko, you just don't think of that price point as being something that you kind of want to go after, Ricardo, I know you saw the new Sumos, if I'm not mistaken, the new green Sumo that they put out, and you were pretty excited about that. What's the price on that green Sumo too? Did they mention that when you talked to them? I'm curious because Ricardo says in the chat that they were a direct competitor for the Oris Aquas, basically. $1,000. See, that's much more in line with what I would expect from Seiko, would be around that price point. And then, of course, if you want to go gray market, you're going to get it even cheaper than that. John says the $5,000 Seiko GMT is one that he's drooling over for sure. And again, like I said, those watches look great. But if you're a Seiko fan, and again, I might be just imposing my own views onto this, but if you're a Seiko fan, I don't feel like that you're looking to spend, $5K on a Seiko GMT. If I have $5,000, I'm gonna want to get like a Grand Seiko, probably. You know what I mean? So Seiko, I waffled. I didn't want to put them on the loser side because, like I said, I thought the stuff they showed was good, but the pricing I felt like was just completely out of whack with what their buyers are expecting. And like I said, if that stuff's going to be limited editions and really small production runs, okay, I get it. You're going to have to go after it. But if that's just going to be part of their regular line, like if those porcelain dial presages are going to be part of their regular line, then I don't know. I think they're missing the mark there a little bit. I will also tell you, so I did my top 5. This did not make my top 5, but my number 6 would have been the Zodiac Aerospace GMT. I thought that was a really cool watch. Zodiac's a company that I've been curious about for a little bit, just because they're owned by Fossil, right? So it's one of those things that that they're going to bring quality, but I'm just curious to see how much quality they bring to the table. Just because, again, with Fossil kind of has that like I think most of watch enthusiasts would have like a negative connotation, or like a negative perspective towards that, but they're still making automatic divers. It has the STP movements in them. I just like the color scheme, the teal, and or it's not really teal, more of a light blue and orange on the GMT. They also had a black and dark blue model, which I don't think is nearly as cool for that aerospace. But yeah, Zodiac, that was the talk of a lot of folks. A lot of chatter about that watch. And like I said, I think it's definitely a good looker. And if you want a GMT that is not going to be just the normal, Pepsi bezel that you see everywhere, or things like that, that might be a solid option to go with. John in the chat says my favorite watch as well. Zodiac really knocked it out of the park with that tribute to their classic. Yeah, like I said, I would agree that that's definitely was the best thing they showed for sure. And it's really the first watch. The other watch that I looked at that I'm interested, that there wasn't a debut at Baselworld from Zodiac, but their Jet-O-Matic that they re-released a couple of years ago is a pretty cool looking watch as well that I'm curious to check out. And again, guys, as you're coming into the chat, make sure you pop in and say hello. Let me know what you're wearing today as well. I know Ricardo already mentioned he's wearing a metal G-Shock today. Asif, hello. He says, what is your favorite watch? Also pronounce my name, please. Well, like I said, I think it's Asif and Fayaz, if I had to guess. You feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. What is my favorite watch? I mean, right now it's the Manta SkyQuest is my favorite watch for sure. Just got that a couple months ago, and it's been hogging a ton of wrist time from me. But yes, if I had to pick a favorite right now, that's my favorite. But like I said, that will change and ebb and flow as time goes on. Ricardo says he loved Bulova. Yes, Bulova was one of the companies that I talked about. Now, here's the thing. So the Joseph Bulova collection looks badass. If I have the money to spend on that, I will definitely at least consider picking one up. Now, the problem is that they're super limited. They are about I think 350 pieces per model, if I'm not mistaken. Ricardo, is what you guys talked about on Watch with Us for that one. But really cool, 1920, 1940s era watches that have, if I'm not mistaken, Solita movements inside of them. If you haven't checked those out, definitely check those out. I mentioned it in my winners and losers video, and you can also check it out on Watch with Us as well. Joseph Bulova collection looked really cool. I also really liked the Bulova. So they re-released the Oceanographer, or the Devil Diver, last year, And this year, they came out with a couple different colors for it. I really like the teal and black one that they released. That thing looks amazing in pictures. I'd really like to see it in the metal. I was a little disappointed when I found out that it does have like a Miyota, like a non-hack Miyota automatic movement inside of it. With the price that they're looking for that watch, I don't know that that's the right movement to toss inside of there. And Ricardo says the new colorways were awesome. And again, guys, Ricardo in the chat, he was actually at Baselworld last weekend, taking in the sights and sounds in person. So he's definitely a guy. And again, if you have not subscribed to the Watch With Us channel, you should do that as soon as you're done in the chat here today. Because again, I think that you'll really enjoy the content. And again, I am going to be a contributor to that channel as well. So you guys can check that out for sure. And Ricardo says, yeah, he should have used more of the 9 series movements. That's the one thing, that's the only thing that's going to kill that watch for a lot of folks, is that the movement just is not of a caliber that you would expect there to be from that watch. John says he just ordered the Atlas, which is coming in August. That's the new GMT watch from Manta. So I was way off with my prediction. And of course, I did the prediction video last weekend. And then pretty much right after right after I predicted that Manta was going to release a chronograph, they definitely responded to someone on Instagram. It was like, yeah, we're not going to be putting out a chronograph. So that got killed pretty much immediately. Which was very sad. But yeah, like I said, the Atlas is cool. They basically took their Manta Triumph, which is their field watch, and then put a GMT movement inside of it. That's kind of oversimplifying a little bit. Obviously, the design of the watch is very different, but they took that case structure basically. And yeah, John, I saw that you had your SkyQuest up for sale again after I think I chastised it. I didn't chastise you, but I was surprised that you were selling it. But if you're doing it to raise funds for the Atlas, I totally get it. For me, I actually prefer the SkyQuest because I like a watch that's a little bit more sporty. I think that just fits the aesthetic that I like. But yeah, but I can understand why with the appeal with it. The gray dial that they released for it is also pretty cool. Very different from anything else that's currently in their line of stuff. So yeah, the Atlas is pretty cool. And again, I'm always looking forward to see what they're coming with, because it was tough. Yeah, it was tough, but you love your Triumph case shape. Look, man, I get it. I'm gonna buy a Triumph at some point, 100%. I cannot wait until I do. It's gonna be a green Triumph too. I already know exactly what I want. Ricardo says the No Date Ocean Kings are boss. I like the No Date Ocean King. I did not need them to go with the red second hand for it. I get that they're trying to differentiate it from the rest of them, but I don't know. I just wish they just kept the regular second hand as well. Asif asks, suggest me a watch within $1,000. He already owns an Alpinist and a Presage and a Dan Henry. Feel free to suggest any kind of watch. I would honestly recommend looking at Christopher Ward. Christopher Ward, talk about them on this channel a lot. They're a great brand with watches that are a much greater value than their price tag, and the vast majority of their stuff comes in under $1,000. So if you're looking for something new and you don't want to spend more than that $1,000, definitely would recommend checking out Christopher Ward and seeing some of the watches they have. And they actually have new divers coming in about a month and a half. And yeah, Ricardo just said the new GMT color. Let me tell you something. Tudor ruined me last year because I hated Pepsi bezels. I was never a Pepsi bezel guy. Tudor GMT comes out last year. They use a slightly different colorway than the Rolex one, a little bit darker, a little bit more muted. Really like it. And then Christopher Ward just released their Pepsi bezel GMT. And like I said, I love the C65. It's in the watch box right behind me. One of the things I love the most about the C65 is that sort of thinner bezel that it has. It's not nearly as wide as you would normally see on a watch of that type. And they kind of just translated that right over to this new Pepsi GMT that they rolled out. And I love it. It's amazing. It manages to look like like its own watch, even though they're obviously, chasing after that Rolex GMT Master Pepsi aesthetic with the watch, but it looks completely, of its own. And It's really hard not to jump on that. Honestly, it really is. Um, yeah, it's just really cool, and I like it a lot. So that I would definitely recommend checking that out. Let's see here. Yeah, John, I know you want a green Triumph as well. I like your gray one though. Like I said, John has the gray one. And the thing that I like about the gray one over all of the other Triumphs in the line is just the red lettering, just that little spot of color on the watch that I think is really makes it stand out and is awesome. But yeah, like I said, loving all this stuff. Let's see what else came. What else came from Basel that I wanted to talk about as well. I'm kind of just flying a little bit by the seat of the pants because I didn't really. I'm just kind of like decompressing the information. I will tell you. So I saw that gold Doxa, and first of all, going with the orange dial with the gold is a bold choice. Because like I said, I think the Doxa subline looks really cool. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about that. Then I saw that they wanted 70 grand for it just because they're only making 13 of them. And no, absolutely not. That was I don't know what they're thinking with that, honestly. Like that's insane that they're charging that price point. I mean, again, Patek released stuff from Basel that's awesome. That is not going to go for nearly that much, and all their stuff is limited. So I don't know what Doxa was thinking. I'll be curious to see if they're going to sell them all. They probably will. I'm sure there are 13 people that can afford that watch that are going to want to go out and grab it. But yeah, that I saw that pop up, and I didn't think anything of it until I saw the price tag, and I'm like, what the heck were they thinking with that? Ricardo says Oris. Yeah, I talked about Oris a lot. For me, they were the winners of the show. They had 3 watches that came out that I would buy if I had the money to do it for sure. I know the pointer. I can never remember the damn name. The Big Crown Pro Pilot Timer GMT was actually my favorite watch that was released at the show. I talked about the Great Barrier Reef edition as well. I talked about the red pointer date, the Big Crown pointer date from them, which was also amazing. The dark blue and bronze one was also awesome in that same line. And they just released a ton of stuff. Like if you go to Oris's Baselworld page on their website, it's just a huge like a huge mess of watches that they released. And most of them are just kind of like iterations on their existing stuff, like different colorways and modifications on their existing lines. But for whatever reason this year, I think they just really knocked it out of the park. Ricard says he wishes he could drop pictures on this chat. Again, guys, go find Watch With Us channel on Instagram if you want to see a lot of Ricardo's pics. Again, he was at Baselworld last weekend, and he has a lot of awesome pictures from a lot of awesome watches that he got to check out at the show, which is very cool. Let's see what else we got here. Breitling didn't do much to impress me this year, honestly. Their stuff was kind of ho-hum. The new Navitimers, I'm really not feeling at all. I don't know. Like I want that Navitimer to look like, the complicated flight computer that it's supposed to be. So I wasn't really digging that. Ricardo asked thoughts on the Altavia. That was my number 5 top watch that released this year. I've never given one care about anything that Tag Heuer has put out. Like I like a lot of the old Heuer stuff. I've never given care about anything Tag Heuer's put out until that watch. That the Altavia Isograph is really awesome looking. I still think it's overpriced because anything that has that Tag Heuer branding on it is going to come with some premium markup that probably doesn't deserve, because it's I mean, at the end of the day, it's rocking an ETA 2824 with with some enhanced features, but it's still an ETA 2824, right? Like, so I don't know why you would charge $3,500 for that, just because Tag. But yeah, it is quite literally the first Tag watch that I've ever looked at and been like, oh man, I would absolutely rock the hell out of that watch for sure. So yeah, the Altavia, that made my top 5. It was number 5, but it was very, very cool when I dug it. I was expecting to really talk about the El Primero a lot as well. Zenith debuted a 50th anniversary edition of the El Primero. Um, it just looked as I would expected. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of it harkens back to the original design. Doesn't do much more than that, so it didn't really impress me too much. Ooh, uh, a couple folks commented in the video that I put out about the Bulgari, the octa chronograph that's like 6.5 millimeters thin. That watch is really cool from like a technological innovation standpoint. The fact that they can get an automatic chronograph, because I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures. If you have not, I would definitely recommend going and checking them out because it's a really fascinating looking watch and a really impressive achievement in technology for Bulgari. It's so ugly though. Like like I just remember like when I first saw the watch pop up, I kind of recoiled from it because I'm like, oh, and then I read up on it, and I'm just like, oh wow, that's a really awesome thing that they're doing because it's a chronograph and it's got a GMT function in it as well. Really cool, just from if you're a nerd about like the mechanical workings of watches, it's just a fantastic, you know, really cool innovation. But man, is that watch just not attractive at all? And I just there's nothing about it that really impresses me from that standpoint. But a very cool innovation. If they ever made one that looked awesome, then I'd be I'd be curious to check it out. I will say though, for what it does deliver, the price I think is actually pretty reasonable. I know it's below 20 grand. So of course a little bit outside of my a little bit outside of my reach. But for folks that are into that kind of thing, I think that they'll be pretty impressed with that. Nomos had some cool stuff as well. Nomos is one of those companies that I would love to just I'd love to take their watches for a spin. I don't know that I necessarily need to own one, but they just look so interesting. The club sport that they revealed is pretty cool. I have a thing for sub-seconds dials. I think that they're always a lot of fun, and just it looks fantastic. Just looks like a fun watch. But again, it's the pricing of the Nomos watches, though they're deserved, just kind of puts them outside of a point where I would be legitimately interested in them. Like I said, I don't know how you guys feel about Nomos or if you've ever gotten to use them. Everyone that has one that I've heard like online talk about it raves about them. Says they're awesome. I've gotten to handle a couple in person. Um, but yeah, that'd be one I'd love to just test drive for a week and just check it out. But I don't know that I ever need to actually own a Nomos watch of any kind. And again, guys, as you're coming in, just a reminder, if you're coming into the chat, make sure you say hello and make sure that you let us know what you're wearing today, because I am always curious to know what you guys are rocking on your wrists on this Saturday afternoon. What else we have here as I'm just scrolling through the feeds. Any watches you guys wanted to talk about as well that I can pull up here as we go, of course. And again, any questions that you guys have outside of Baselworld, I'm happy to answer as well. I don't know how long we're going to go today, too, because of course it figures that I've been feeling great all week, though very tired because I've been working very hard at my day job and doing all this other stuff on the side. And then, of course, as I'm getting ready to wind down, this chat is literally the last thing that I'm doing. It is now my voice starts to go. So I got my tea here, so I will go as long as I can. James asks, got a favorite Nomos watch? I do actually. The automotive inspired, I don't know what the model is specifically, but the automotive inspired one that they released at last Baselworld, that has kind of that the speedometer aesthetic, would definitely be my favorite Nomos that they've put out so far. I also like how it has that date complication at the bottom so that you can see the current date, but it also has the previous and the upcoming date as well as it cycles through. So that would be my one. If I ever were to somehow get a Nomos, that'd probably be the one that I would get. And again, like I like their watches because I like that Bauhaus design style. But that would be definitely the one for me. The new clubs, like I said, that they just put out were pretty cool as well. But it's definitely, and again, I can't remember the exact model, but the automotive inspired one would definitely be my favorite for sure. Oh, let's see here. So, do we want to talk about the P01 real quick? Because I only mentioned it briefly um in my losers video because I thought Tudor, just like everybody else online did, fell on their face during Baselworld. And it's funny because so the initial knee-jerk reaction to the P01 was that everyone hated it. And now now that the weeks come out, some of the watch blogs have been like, oh, once you get your hands on it, oh, it's a lot better in person than it is in pictures. And that they probably did themselves a disservice by teasing what looked like a Submariner instead of kind of teasing this watch instead. And there's kind of this like opposite backlash happening, though not nearly as strong for folks that are complaining. John says it's barf inducing. See, I agree. Like, I don't understand why people think, oh, you're just hating on this because it's different. I don't know. We're hating on it because it's a weird design. Like, it's a weird design and not in a good way. Weird. I think I read somewhere that the lug length is 62 millimeters from lug to lug. Like, that's insane. Do you know how few people that's going to look good on a wrist? And again, like, if you're wearing this as a dive watch, like if you're actually wearing it over a wetsuit, sure, that makes sense. I can understand that. But as someone just wearing this watch as a daily wear thing, I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't understand. Again, I understand that it is based off of a historical prototype, but yeah, that watch is just not desirable, not attractive. And again, it's one thing if you are releasing that watch as just another watch that's in your line this year. Hey, we're doing this quirky thing. This is just something cool we're doing. It might even be limited production. Sure, why not? But this was like their feature of this Baselworld this year. Like, this was the main event. This was the highlight. This is what you are promoting as, hey, this is the most important thing to Tudor this year is this watch. And again, I don't understand that at all. They had to know how divisive the watch was going to be. And again, that's, you know what, honestly, smart marketing on their part. Any press is good press. Even if people are crapping all over the watch, they're still talking about it. So, I mean, I think that's probably what they were thinking. And I'm sure they'll find buyers for this watch as well. But yeah, it just seems silly that this would be like, ooh, this is going to be the main thing this year. And I think that's why a lot of folks were also upset about it. John says people defending it is just Tudor Stockholm syndrome. And look, I love Tudors. I think they're awesome. I would be someone that'd be apt to defend them. But none of the moves they made this year made a lot of sense to me. They just didn't. Again, the steel and gold everything, gross. Like, I hate their steel and gold line. The only watch that they released that was mildly passable to me was the steel and gold chronograph. And just because that thing wasn't gaudy. And like Ricardo said, after last year, they were the cock of the walk. They had Black Bay 58, everybody loved it. Tudor GMT, everybody loved it. Like I said, that was a huge year for them. And just to follow it up with this, and again, no matter what they released, unless they release a Tudor Submariner, which was never going to happen, by the way, which I called, which I will I will tout that prediction. I totally called that there's no way that they would do that, and they didn't. Unless they did release a Tudor Submariner, there was no way this year was going to live up to the hype that they had last year. But I think if you had done some different colorways of the 58, I think maybe if you had done a new colorway of the GMT, people might have been a little bit more forgiving of that P01. And again, the point's been made. Hey, why would they release these different colorways when, both those watches are still waitlisted as it is anyway? Like, they can't even produce enough of the original ones to meet demand. So why are they going to release a new one that's just going to be waitlisted? Again, I get that sentiment. It was just a curious choice, just being like, hey, this P01, check it out. This is awesome. It's really not. It's really not at all. And I don't know how they thought that was going to go down. But that's and I think the other problem too is that it's one thing if more people were aware of that prototype. Like, if folks were aware that watch existed. I know it had been fabled and, maybe it existed, maybe it didn't. There was a lot of mystery surrounding it. But if people had known what that watch was, and then you release something like that, okay. Like that's one thing that I'm sure it'll have its fans and people will be excited about that. But just kind of dropping that out of nowhere and having that be the big one, it just didn't make sense to me. And like I said, I think they did. I think that the crap they're getting from folks is to be expected when you do that. So yeah, Tudor, I stand by that. And again, that's a boring take because everyone online, like it would be an exciting take to be like, oh, Tudor killed it this year. No one's gonna say that though, and that would just be for getting clicks, which I'm not really feeling. Mm. I will tell you that since we're talking about Tudor and Rolex, uh, I do actually really like that the meteorite dial GMT. I don't know why. It's a very it's a little gaudy, but I like it because it's different. I like it because I wouldn't have expected Rolex to do something like that. Now obviously it's super limited and it's white gold and it's super expensive. I don't do I have a price in here in this article that I'm flipping through? Yeah, it's going to be like $37,000. So I mean it's going to be very exclusive, but I think it's cool. And that's I think when people are like it's easy to bash Tudor and Rolex and companies like that. Um just because they're going to be more predictable, they're going to be more boring. Getting stuff like that, stuff that you don't expect, that's what people are always looking for. John says he thought Zealous ended up getting into the mix for Baselworld, then he saw it was Rolex. Yeah, I mean the meteorite dial is definitely a very Zealous thing for sure. But again, I like it. I mean, I'll never own it because I don't have that kind of coin to spend on a watch. But it's cool. Like I said, I'm glad they're doing it. I wish that they would do more stuff like that, even if it is just a limited edition kind of one-off thing. Um, again, I don't know what the demand is for that, but I'm sure that they're going to be happy selling what they sell. Let's see here. We're almost at 40 minutes. So I'm probably going to end it soon. If you guys have any other questions, though, I would not mind answering a few more before we pack it in this week. I'm looking again too at that hand finished spring drive snowflake from Grand Seiko. I would like to see that watch in person. Honestly, like Ricardo, if you're still around, I would be curious to see if you saw that watch and what your in-person impressions were, even if it was through glass of it, just because it looks really cool, but it seems like it'd be something that's better appreciated in the metal rather than in pictures. I mean, it's cool they're doing it in the first place, despite the fact that it cost an astronomical amount of money. Let's see. Any other watches here to talk about as well? So I've pretty much gone over all the watches that I had any major thoughts on. Oh, any new watches on the horizon? John asks. Yes, the one I'm wearing is a new watch. Again, I'm teasing it because I just before I got onto this, I just filmed an unboxing video of it. So I'm not going to reveal what it is just yet. I think I'm going to drop that video on Wednesday this week. But and again, if you guys missed the very beginning of the stream, my football kit that I'm wearing today is a slight teaser for what this watch is. So, but like I said, I'll drop that on Wednesday. Sorry to tease, but definitely come back and check out the video. James asked, do you think the Manta Atlas can work with a suit and any specific dial preferences? First of all, yes, I do. I do think the Manta Atlas could work with the suit. I think the Manta SkyQuest could work with a suit, quite frankly, and the Ocean King as well. Their watches, I think, are classy enough and kind of like upscale enough. And as John says, they even say that this is their dress watch per se. So I would expect that to be the case. Dial preferences. Look, so it's funny. So I have the Manta Blue SkyQuest with the steel bezel. And when I first got the watch, one of my complaints was that Oh man, I really wish that they had gone with the on the Sky Quest. I wish they had done more flourishes of red, because the black version of the Sky Quest has the red Sky Quest lettering. The in between uh, marks on the GMT chapter ring are red as well, but the blue version is not. It's all white. The only thing that's red is the arrow hand on the GMT hand. And I said, and I remember when I first got it, I was like, oh man, I wish that they had done the same flourishes of red on the Sky Quest as they did on the blue Sky Quest as they did on the black one. So the Atlas has that, right? The Atlas has those pops of red on the chapter ring, and it has it on the watch model. And I actually don't like it. It's now that I've seen it in person, I'm like, oh, actually, I don't know that I like that one as much. So I actually like it on the lettering. I don't like it on the chapter ring. I think it would look better in the all white. So for me, even though I have the Manta Blue Sky Quest, I don't. That's not my favorite color of the Atlas. I got to be honest. I really like the silver dial. I do. I think the little pops of blue are they work really well with it. I think it looks fantastic. I'm not normally a light dialed person. I don't typically like lighter colored dials. I'm a more dark colored dial guy. But I think this is fantastic. And if you are buying it to sort of be your quasi dress watch, I think the silver dial is definitely going to be the best version of that to support that usage case. Um, so and because it's the least assuming, it kind of flies under the radar the most. And James also says he loves the charcoal rehalt on the silver dial one as well. Yes, I do also. I want to see that in person. I'm really looking forward to the next time that I will get to see those guys, which I'm assuming is probably going to be wind up next year. Because I do definitely want to check that watch out in the metal. And again, it's not one that I'm going to buy. I have my Sky Quest, which I'm very happy with. I will get a Triumph though at some point. But yeah, if you've not bought a Manta watch yet, I would definitely check out the Atlas because it looks really badass. It looks really awesome. And those guys know what they're doing over there, man. Like I said, once they figured out the pricing, once they got the Ocean King figured out, it is no coincidence to me that they are kind of like one of the darlings of the micro brand or boutique brand watch industry right now. So very cool. So guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all very much for those of you that tuned in and asked questions in the chat. I really do appreciate it. Again, these chats don't work without you guys being in the comments asking the questions. So thank you for those of you that cruised by live and checked it out this week. Again, I do have the two Baselworld videos that are up. So if you've not checked those out, I would definitely check those out on the channel. You can find them in my feed. Next week, we have a couple more videos coming. The value video that I teased last live chat is dropping next weekend. And the unboxing of this mystery watch and first impressions of this mystery watch is going to be dropping midweek for you guys. So again, thanks very much for cruising by. I will do this again in a couple weeks, and I will talk to you guys next time.